Hey there, Empowered Tribe. It's Angela T. Moore. You're getting ready to experience the 10th episode of Empowered, a health and wellness podcast where I share my personal journey of health and healing, tips for mental and physical health, interviews with health and wellness experts and those bold enough and vulnerable enough to share their own journeys to empower you to succeed in yours. We know that life can be rewarding. It can also be challenging. It has its ups and downs, highs and lows. I learned that with a strong mind and a fit body, you are better able to grow through and grow from whatever life throws your way. My goal is to share journeys of health and wellness, as well as tips and information from extraordinary people all around the world to help you live an empowered life. My guest, leadership expert and vibrant life coach, Dr. Geneva Jones Williams, widely known as Dr. Geneva, is a pioneer in driving transformative change across the nonprofit and entrepreneurial landscapes. With an unmatched track record of over $100 million in fundraising and more than 50 public-private collaborations, she's not just a leader, she's a game changer. As the current chair of the Women's Commission appointed by Michigan's governor, her influence extends beyond boardrooms and into the lives of women across Michigan. Her podcast, Ignite to Impact, and LinkedIn newsletter, The Future is Female, offers actionable insights and thought-provoking perspectives, making her a sought-after voice in leadership and personal development. In this episode, Dr. Geneva shared her personal journey of healing from SEO, stress, exhaustion, and overwhelm, and provided key strategies to reduce burnout and restore balance and harmony in the lives of success-driven people. She also shared tools to maintain your career trajectory without compromising your well-being, as well as dispel some of the common fears and misconceptions about burnout. I hope you enjoy the episode. Dr. Williams, back in July, you did a LinkedIn Live session titled Balance, Not Burnout for female leaders, a LinkedIn Live session dedicated to empowering high-achieving women to achieve work-life balance and well-being without compromising professional success. I love the way that you phrased that. Why was it important for you to lead a session that addressed something that I think many women struggle with, achieving work-life balance?
Well, I think it was important because there are these myths around balance and burnout. And one of them is that in order to really achieve success, you got to have burnout, because people feel that that's the way you show that you're working hard, that it's a big effort, that you're doing something, and that somehow it's linked to success. You know, that if you're burnout or showing those signs of burnout, which are really being stressed out or exhausted or overwhelmed, that goes with the territory. And I had so many women who I work with who would express that kind of feeling. And I wanted to say, no, that's not the way it has to be. If you're a high achiever, if you want to advance in your career, if you want to start a business, whatever it is you want to do, you do not have to be coupled with burnout or feeling overwhelmed to prove whatever it is that you're doing. And so I thought it would be a good idea to start the conversation with a video that really explored not only the what is burnout, but also the myths associated with it, and then get into some tips and strategies that women can use. Because one of the things we know is that working to be balanced, having that harmony, really takes not only practice, but it's not a do it, it's done, you got it. It really is a continual journey of work and practicing so that you can be the best that you absolutely can be.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Well, it's interesting because I had the opportunity to watch this segment, and I watched it a couple times, and I love the way that you did this really interesting spin on an acronym that we hear all the time, SEO. And when we think of search engine optimization, which is what SEO typically stands for, we think about, where we are right now in this very technological society that we live in, which I think actually makes people feel that they have to work a lot harder than they have to. But what does SEO mean to you?
Well, SEO used to be my middle name.
Okay.
And I remember when I had moved to Detroit, unexpected. I'd never thought I would be living in this area. I'm an East Coast girl. But I met a man, fell in love. He's from here. We got married.
Okay.
And so I not only got married, but I moved to a new place and started children, a family, and looking for a job, starting a career, and on and on and on. It was doing so many things that I was really burned out. I didn't know it then, but I was juggling so many balls, and that I find so many women, do as well. I'm a high achiever. So many of us are. We want to make the most of everything we've gotten. And so I remember that I was just at my wit's end. I was constantly feeling the stress, the exhaustion, the overwhelmed, which was my SEO.
Okay.
And I just didn't know what to do. So I went home. I went back home. I went to Jersey, Neptune, New Jersey. It's a little small town on the Jersey Shore.
I've never heard of that.
Yes, it's next to Asbury Park. You might have heard of that, but it's right on the shore.
Okay.
So I grew up in a small town where you step outside on a good day, take a deep breath, and you can smell the ocean.
Oh.
And so you can imagine ocean and water and sand and the boardwalk, a real boardwalk. And I used to be under it quite a bit as a youngster. But I went home to my mom and dad, and as soon as I walked in the door, I saw her, went back to her room and saw she was sitting there in the chair that she always sits in, and I just started telling her all of these things that I was going through and how I was stressed and I couldn't make it. I couldn't put things together, and I felt exhausted all the time. And, I was just so overwhelmed. I went on and crying and didn't know what I would do. And when I paused for breath, she looked at me and she said, I'm sorry you're going through that. I'm sorry you're putting yourself through that.
Ooh. Oh.
And when she said it, I stopped.
Yeah.
And really, that began my journey of discovering and trying to figure out about this SEO, being stressed, exhausted, overwhelmed, and how I could beat it. Because what she said to me, was, what you're going through, it's you.
Yeah, what you put yourself through.
So I have been on this journey to help leaders, in particular, female leaders who are high achievers, usually, with this aspect of their lives. Because it isn't just about the leadership, learning the skills and how you manage teams and how you plan and do strategic planning and all those wonderful skill development things that are important. And I do that. I'm a leadership expert. I've been in the field for 40 plus years. So I do that.
Yeah.
But what I discovered is that we as high achievers, as leaders, have personal transitions, issues, challenges that we have to deal with and balance. We have to learn how to balance all of that with the profession, with the career, and those kinds of things. So one of the things that I do most of the times when I'm working with women or doing lives or videos is I put in that take care of yourself, be balanced, that's self-care. In fact, it's part of my framework that I use in working with leaders.
Well, one of the things that I found really interesting is that you said that you try traditional methods to make yourself feel better, such as deep breathing, meditation, walking. Yet you noticed that it did not reduce burnout or help you improve your harmony or balance in life. So you had to develop some strategies kind of to attain the harmony and balance that I think at some point in our lives we all seek. And I would like you to talk about that, because I think that a lot of people that may not think to reach out to someone like you may do those things, may try to meditate, may try to take a walk, I'm a big advocate of exercising, eating well, and overall well-being, and integrating healthy lifestyle strategies throughout your workday. But I think that oftentimes when someone's juggling all the balls, they're feeling stressed, exhausted, overwhelmed, they do those things that traditionally are recommended. And I think oftentimes it maybe gives a temporary, reprieve. It gives them temporary peace. Yes. But if they're not aware of those negative, ineffective habits that they routinely do, that they need to change, it's going to be this never-ending cycle where you're going to be repeating behaviors that put you into that state of being stressed, exhausted, and overwhelmed. And you can meditate, you can walk, and you can do all those things. But if you keep doing the same behaviors that's causing that cycle, you're going to find yourself dropping all the balls.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So can you talk about some of those strategies that you shared that I had, like I said, in that session that I had the wonderful opportunity to watch?
Well, one of the things that I think is so important for us to realize about just life in general is that it often is a continual journey.
Yeah.
And so that practice matters. And that it isn't about just finding something, saying, oh, I got it, I got this handled, and then move on and do something else.
Okay.
Because what will happen is it can creep out. The thing about creep up and into your life, the thing about burnout is that often it creeps up on you. Is you got to stop and say, oh, well, I'm stressed, or, you stop and you got to recognize it and stop and say, and then you say, oh, I got to do something about it. And you run out and get a massage. Or you take a walk. And all of those things are good. I do all those things. I get a massage, I take a walk, I meditate, I practice mindfulness, I do all of that. One of the things I discovered is that I needed more for me to be an habitual balance seeker.
Okay.
And had to develop habits within a system for my life.
Gotcha.
So that's one of the things, and they involved one of the strategies that I usually talk about is the mindset shift and how it starts with your mind and giving yourself permission to rest. And we don't often do that as high achievers. Again, we feel that, or we see if we don't keep going, if we're not the last one in the office, or if we don't, pop up first thing in the morning and show up, that things are off, or that things will slip or slide. And learning to give yourself permission to take a break, to rest. Just yesterday, I was, I just had this jam-packed schedule, it seemed. And I was having a good time. I was with a client, and that's always good. And then I was part of a conversation, which was great. And then I had my dance lesson, which was wonderful.
Okay.
I'm dancing. But after I finished dancing, I had 2 other appointments.
Okay.
And you know what? I said, I'm not going. It's too much.
Okay.
So I canceled them.
Yeah.
And I went home and went to bed early.
Yeah.
I gave myself permission to rest,
Yeah.
to take a break.
I love it.
And I think if we find ways to tell ourselves it's okay, give yourself permission. So that's one of the strategies that I had to learn. Another is build an intentionality around being balanced. And what I mean by that is, actually sit and plan out different activities, different self-care activities or ideas or things to do, so that when there comes a time when you want to take a break, or you've told yourself, I need to rest, or I need to do something else, that you know what it is that you can do. So this is about being intentional.
Okay.
Often we don't sit and think about, okay, so what will I do if I feel stressed?
Okay.
You know how it's not something that we would think about.
Well, what's interesting about what you said, when I initially had the opportunity, as I said, to watch your session, I took all these wonderful notes on a lot of the key things that you said. When you said that about creating a calendar and setting aside specific times to do things, basically, and I'm paraphrasing, I think things that you enjoy, things that are going to bring you peace, things that are going to allow you to relax.
Yes.
I think I was under the impression you were doing what I recommend to a lot of my clients. You were recommending what I recommend to a lot of my clients, and that is that you intentionally schedule in moments of peace.
Absolutely.
Throughout the day. And you may also be saying that. But what I'm also hearing you say is that it's also important to know when you've scheduled those moments of peace, what you're going to do.
Exactly.
Yeah, because I could see you having some time set aside for peace, relaxation,
right,
but you may not have an idea of what that is.
Exactly.
And so you may waste 30 minutes just trying to think, what should I do?
Exactly.
Okay.
And so I have women write down like 10 things that they love to do.
Okay.
Or 15 things that make you smile.
Okay.
So like, what makes you smile?
I love to go to the park.
Okay.
And do the stairs.
Okay.
That's my
Go to the park and do the stairs. So you would, in your calendar, instead of saying take a break or rest time, put in go to the stairs, go up the stairs, go to the park, because it brings you joy.
I see.
You love it.
Yeah.
But taking the time to really write that down and think about it. Angela, what it all is about is being intentional.
Yeah, yeah.
And so this is a strategy that is that we approach being balanced with intent.
Gotcha.
So we think about it, we plan for it, and you could just take, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and kind of start to put together a schedule, a calendar, to be able to do those kinds of things.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Now, there was one other one that you haven't mentioned that I actually, because I say I take extensive notes. I'm a note taker, Dr. Geneva. I really am. You said outsmart burnout before it starts.
Yes.
And then, and I think you kind of alluded to that because you talked about burnout being the creeper that I think can come and steal your peace. But you also said make time to mentor others.
Yes.
Can you talk about those?
Yeah, one of the things that in my career, as I told you, how I got put in my place and the eyes opened by my mom.
Yes.
And as I began this journey to try to find balance, and it's elusive, but that's okay because I'm always after it. I know it is, and I try to work at it, which again I think is part of the intentionality that I'm talking about. But one of the things that I found was that the more we help others, the more we can feel good about ourselves. And so the whole idea of, how can I be successful? Help others find their success. How can I find balance? Help others do something so that you can find that joy. You can give that joy. And what it also does is it takes your mind off of you.
Right.
And you can learn so much. And so this is an unconventional way, because I've had so many people say to me, well, Dr. Geneva, if I'm, mentoring somebody else, how does that help me with burnout?
It's going to cause more stress. That's going to cause me to feel exhausted or overwhelmed.
Exactly. And,
but I'm sure
so I tell folk that, no, not really. Volunteer. Read to children. Many of us, are in religious organizations. Find something within your church or at the mosque where you can volunteer your time, give of your time, and don't schedule it so that it becomes overwhelming.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so keep that in balance.
Right.
Yeah.
However, as you're thinking about and you're putting your to-do list on and you're scheduling things out, have some time to put things that divert your attention from yourself and what you're going through and give to others. So routinely, as a strategy, routinely incorporating philanthropic activity into what you do can, in fact, make you feel better.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. And I'm imagining if you are doing something like that and you're working with different people, as you see them evolve and grow and find peace and success and everything that you help them achieve, it has to feed you. It has to make you feel better. Yeah.
And also, it's something you could use right on the job for those who are still, in the corporate world or working with teams. I work a lot with women leaders over 50 who are in the pinnacle of their career. And whether it's at the workplace or they're running businesses. But often when you're working in those environments, there are younger generation of leaders there.
Yeah, of course. Right.
And mentoring is another way that you're sharing your wisdom, your time, your energy. And it's that kind of way to take the focus off of yourself and give something to someone else.
Yeah.
And so the whole idea is to create a portfolio of different ideas, activities, and things you can do to help, not let burnout creep up.
Gotcha. Yeah, I love those. Those were great. Yeah, thank you so much. And what's interesting is you even added more to what I heard during the session even today. And so my belief is that those that listen to the podcast are going to definitely benefit greatly from the information that you shared. So thank you so much for taking time to share. I would say what you've learned from your own personal experience and what you have decided that you're willing to share to help others. Yeah. I think that's how I honestly believe that that's why you go through certain things is so that you can go through the process, achieve the goals that you've set during the process. And once you establish the systems, the methods, the strategies to be successful in that it's for you to share with someone else, to share that knowledge, that wisdom, those experiences with other people so that it benefits other people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I believe if we all did that, we would all be better for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's that whole aspect of legacy building is so critical and so very important for leaders to really invest some time to think about, what's the impact? What's the kind of impact that I want to make?
Yeah.
And what's the impression that I want to leave when I leave? Going to another job, to another opportunity, or leaving this earth. So the whole aspect of legacy building for us, particularly as female leaders, is very crucial. And for us to leave the most profound, powerful legacy we can leave, we got to feel good.
Right. Yeah.
We can't be torn down, torn apart through stress and overwhelmed. We've got to, be the best that we can be. And of course, we want to live a longer life. We want to live vibrantly. We want to continue to do that. So seeking balance and fighting that burnout is so very critical to our success as high achievers and as leaders.
Yeah. Now, what's interesting, you kind of alluded to it very earlier in the interview today. You were talking about some of the myths and misconceptions as it relates to burnout, and you actually referenced one that I think is probably something that I think, unfortunately, we all fall into, that's kind of thought that in order to be successful, you have to be burned out, like that's part of the process that you, yeah. And I wanted to give you the opportunity to talk more about that, but also to talk about some of those other myths and misconceptions as it relates to burnout that you think we should know.
Yeah, that's a big one. As I was coming along in my career, I used to see other people watch when other people left and when other people got in. And it was always a measurement of how early you got in and how late you stayed was an indication of how hard you was working.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that people would try to get there before others and, try to be the last one out. And I fell into that same pattern too, because I was trying to make it.
So were you showing up early and staying late?
Oh, please. My husband used to say, well, where are you? Absolutely, because I thought that was how you did it. You showed you were working hard, and it was all about that effort. Well, needless to say, I learned a lot from that. But it also was connected to how I felt. So you really can't keep that kind of pace over the long haul. And again, because burnout sneaks up on you,
right?
You turn around and say, oh, and then, but sometimes and oftentimes, which is this other myth that people think, well, if I'm burned out, it's going to look a certain way. Well, being exhausted or stressed out affects people differently.
Right.
But as you know, physically or mentally or emotionally, these signs of, my stomach hurts all the time, or I've always got headaches, or I find my fingers are shaking, my hands are shaking. Or I get angry quickly.
Okay, yeah.
Or I respond or I'm short. Or,
yeah.
A whole myriad of symptoms that really come from us being stressed, exhausted, or overwhelmed. And so it's so important for us to begin to be educated and understand some of these symptoms and myths about burnout so that we can recognize it and we can say, whoa, wait a minute. There are things we need to put a stop on something and get into, giving ourselves permission to rest or what have you. Another myth about burnout that we see often is that, it's inevitable. that, I can't be here. It's the flip side of it goes along with success.
Gotcha.
Okay. It's the flip side that says, well, I'm a high achiever. I've got kids. I've got a spouse. I'm, doing 50 million things, and I know it. And so it's inevitable, that I'm going to burn out. I'm going to get stressed out. And then sometimes we even fall in love with the word stressed out. So how you doing today? Oh, I'm stressed.
Yeah.
So what that does to our mind.
I do.
If we say we're stressed, we are stressed because we're stressed and we say it.
Right. Yeah.
So that kind of talk also is part of that thinking that in order to be successful, in order to achieve, because I'm doing all of these things, there's a natural progression to I'm going to feel stressed and overwhelmed. But I think when I go back to my mom's words, when she felt genuine sadness, because I was putting myself through something, is really the key to it all. Because what it says is that we choose. That, in fact, if we're the architects of our life and we find ourselves having SEO, we've made that choice.
Most definitely.
And so taking the step of changing your mind and choosing and being intentional, I think are absolutely key.
Yeah. I think the intentional part is really significant. Yeah. And I think that that's something that a lot of people struggle with. And as we kind of bring the interview to an end, I think that would be something that I would really want to emphasize to those that are going to be listening to the interview, is that you have the power to decide about what you want your life to be,
Exactly.
But understand that once you make that decision and once you decide that you want to utilize the power that you have within to create the life and the powerful life that I believe you are intended and purpose to live, you got to be very intentional about what that is.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not just going to happen.
Right. One of my favorite quotes, Louise Hay, says, I choose to have the rest of my life be the best of my life.
I love that.
And that's so powerful with the first two words in particular. I choose.
Yeah.
And so if we choose to have the rest of our life, and that can be said at any age.
Yeah. Right?
Okay?
Yeah.
To be the best, then that means that in order for that to happen, it's not happenstance. That there has to be some intentionality to it, whether we call that a game plan, a life plan, it's personal strategic plan, goal setting, vision setting. There's lots of different names and strategies that we can use and we call it.
Right.
But the thing is to do it, to understand that if you have the choice, which is that powerful opportunity to make that happen, you have to do. And so the work that I do with women leaders is helping them see that power, understand that they can choose, but most importantly, to figure out what those next steps are. And we can do it.
Yeah.
We really can. It's really simple. We can do it. And being intentional about our life and how we live it, particularly since we have such a incredible opportunity these days, because technology and medical advances are going to let us live longer lives if we want them.
Yeah.
If we want to be, intentional about it. And you being, you understand this as a health and wellness expert.
Most definitely I do.
That, how we take care of our bodies, because we're with ourselves forever, and making those decisions about how we live our lives is so important, but we can do it with intentionality.
Most definitely. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to share really some just key golden nuggets, I would say, is what you shared. And I really appreciate you also sharing your own personal experience, and I would say your own personal journey with SEO.
Yes.
And I really believe that those that are going to listen to this interview are really going to find some really key strategies, some tools, some really intentional steps that they can take to make their life more balanced, more harmonious, and definitely, and we're going to reduce and eliminate that burnout.
That's right.
So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
It was fun. I enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thanks for listening to Empower It with Angela T. Moore. Feel free to share this episode with someone you think would enjoy it. New episodes come out weekly. Follow our show on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you're listening right now.